Hello everyone and welcome to a wonderful game from the St. Louis Rapid tournament. It's a game from round 2, even though 3 days of Rapid have already been played and now we have 2 days of Blitz. Gukesh is in 4th place after 3 days of Rapid, but this is one of the games you guys requested a lot. Features a very interesting checkmate, so let's check it out. Gukesh with white opens with pawn to e4 and Grigoriy replies with pawn to c5. He goes for the Sicilian defense, knight f3, knight to c6 and bishop to b5. It's the Nimzovich-Rossolimo attack. We have pawn to d6 and castle's king side, bishop to d7 and rook to e1. We have pawn to a6, knight to f6 is still the more popular, but here we have pawn to a6, bishop back to f1, knight to f6 and pawn to h3, pawn to e5, pawn to c3, preparing to strike with d4, bishop to e7 and pawn to d4. We have pawn to b5 and pawn to d5. And there is a game that reached this position where knight to a5 was played, but here we have knight to a7, and it is now as of move 10 that we have a completely new game. And the situation on the clock is pretty much equal, so let's see what happens. We have pawn to a4, challenging the, sort of the expansion on the queen side, castle's king side, and a captures on b5. A captures and pawn to b4. We have pawn to c4 and rook to e2, probably preparing to double up on the a file. Knight to c6, and this is a... I imagine Grigoriy didn't want to burn too much time trying to counter rook to a2, so he played this very interesting knight sacrifice with knight to c6, which isn't all that easy to disprove. Gukesh captures on a8, as of course he should, captures, and he takes the knight. Captures on c6, bishop captures, we have knight b to d2, and now, of course, even knight captures on e4. We have knight captures, bishop captures, and bishop to e3, followed by pawn to h6. So as you can see, Grigoriy has a very nice center here, and he can, at some point, once he consolidates, maybe even execute the d5, d4, and it will be a big problem for Gukesh. We have rook to d2, and now queen to a3, putting pressure on the c3 pawn as well. And now if Gukesh does nothing and allows queen captures on c3, then the c pawn becomes a pass pawn, and then it's going to be very, very hard to defend. So Gukesh says, all right, you can have a little bit of material back, plays rook captures on d6, bishop captures, we have queen captures, and bishop captures on f3. And now, while you probably play g captures on f3 automatically, there's no reason not to do it. Gukesh plays queen captures on e5. He thinks, or rather he knows, that the threat of bishop to d4 is much stronger than just capturing on f3. So, okay, Grigoriy goes back. We have bishop to b7 and bishop to d4. Threatens checkmate on g7, pawn to f6, and now queen captures on b5. Which comes with tempo, and also next you're going to play bishop captures on c4 with check and free up the light square bishop as well. So that not capturing of the bishop and instead of going for the e5 pawn was a very, very, top-level maneuver by Gukesh. We have queen to a8, defending the bishop and putting some pressure on g2, but it doesn't matter. Bishop captures on c4 comes with check. We have king to h8 and pawn to f3. Now, the queen-bishop battery isn't all that useful here, but maybe in some lines you have to watch out for bishop captures on f3. We have rook to c8 and bishop to d3. Now threatening queen to f5, followed by queen to h7 checkmate. Grigoriy defends with bishop to d5 and now queen to d7. Again, putting pressure on the rook, putting pressure on the bishop. For the moment, the queen is guarding both, but you have to make a move. And also, a queen f5 followed by queen h7 checkmate is still coming. So Oparin goes for bishop to g8. Now the h7 square is nicely defended. And Gukesh makes the sneaky queen f5 move, sort of saying, okay, I'm tying down your bishop to the defense of the h7 square. If you move it, queen h7 is checkmate. If you move the queen from the back rank, I can also capture the rook. So Grigoriy thought, let's counter both of these ideas at once, and he played rook to d8. And there's a big problem here, so have at it. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Gukesh in the most devious way while I give you a couple of seconds. The move, of course, is not bishop captures on f6. The move is queen captures on f6. Rook to d8 sort of counters bishop captures on f6, because if you play it like this, then you can give a nice check, and after king h2, you can give up the rook for the bishop. And then, okay, you have nothing better than to capture on g7. For example, queen captures. You're going to capture on d3, and still you're going to be up 4 pawns for that bishop. So it will be white who's pushing for the win. But yeah, it would be very good for black. But here Gukesh played queen captures on f6, and now there is nothing more to be done here. Of course, Grigoriy could capture the bishop on d4, and then the game continues with Gukesh just being up 3 pawns. But he says, oh, okay, we're not going to play that. After queen captures on f6, he just accepted the queen sacrifice, and Gukesh delivers this beautiful double bishop checkmate. So bishop captures on f6 is checkmate, and that, of course, ends the game. Yeah, very nice. You know, sometimes it's in the style of the old master. Sometimes it's you know, let's not drag it out. Yes, there exists a possibility that once every 1,000 games, you know, players don't win these kinds of positions. But yeah, you're playing a world champion here. It's best to just resign and allow this checkmate to appear on the board. So yeah, very short game, but you know, I thought you guys would enjoy it. Features a nice checkmate, and yeah, we'll see how Gukesh does in the 2 days of Blitz. As usual, if you have any suggestions, use that hashtag suggestion, and I will happily cover any game, especially if it features a nice move like queen captures on f6. You know that queen captures on f6 is my favorite move ever played in chess, so whenever it's featured, I always like to see it, and of course, you guys know from which game it is. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Alexander Schaefer, Miloš Knežević, Gerhard Henkelman, Amar Mirza, and Derek King for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.